Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was born Agnes Ganja Boiagiu in Skopje, now the capital of Macedonia, Ottoman Empire. Her parents, Nicola and Dranophile Boiagiu, were devout Catholics. Her father passed away when she was about 8 years old. Her father's death had a major impact on their family, both emotionally and financially. Agnes's religious beliefs strengthened in the Jesuit parish of the Sacred Heart, where she was very involved. At age 18, she moved to Ireland and joined the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary, known as the Sisters of Loreto. She received the name Sister Mary Teresa after Saint Therese of Lisieux. In December 1928, Sister Teresa left Ireland. She arrived in Calcutta, now called Kolkata, on January 6, 1929, and taught at a school for girls. On May 24, 1937, Sister Teresa made her final profession of vows, becoming, as she said, the spouse of Jesus for all eternity. From that moment on, she was known as Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa experienced the call within a call. She was going from Calcutta to the Himalayan foothills for a retreat when she claimed Christ spoke to her and explained that she must abandon teaching. Christ then told her to go to Calcutta to serve the poorest, most disadvantaged, and sickest people in the slums of Calcutta. When I read this, I was skeptical of her being chosen among billions of people on the planet. But however she got there, she was helping poor people. Wasn't she? Please tell Jesus to stop kissing me. In 2008, Hemley Gonzalez, a migrant from Cuba living in Miami, running a real estate business, became inspired after reading a biography of Mother Teresa. He went to Kolkata to serve at Nirmal Hriday, a home for the dying run by the Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity. He stayed for 2 months. It was a scene out of a World War II concentration camp, Gonzalez recalls. I was shocked to see the negligence. Needles were washed in cold water and reused, and expired medicines were given to the inmates. There were people who had a chance to live if given proper care. When Gonzalez tried to suggest improvements, such as a water heater, he was denied. "We don't do that here. This is the way Jesus wants it," he was told. Why would this world-famous charity mission, dedicated to caring for the poor, keep people in these conditions? I had to know. I watched a video by Penn Jillette and Teller featuring Dr. Arup Chatterjee, a British Indian author born in Kolkata. He has done research on Mother Teresa for more than 25 years and is the author of the book Mother Teresa, The Untold Story. Penn and Teller showed footage from Mother Teresa's home for the dying in Kolkata. People were living in small hammocks, suffering in horrific conditions. Dr. Chatterjee described it. There is a communal toilet that people have to defecate in the presence of each other. They are not allowed visits from their friends or relatives. Very strange. They have to lie in the bed or sit in the bed consistently. I had thought that Mother Teresa was there to help relieve poverty and suffering. Instead, I was appalled to learn that she praised poverty and believed that suffering was a way to get closer to Jesus. This woman, who had been called a living saint, once told a woman suffering from terrible pain and dying from cancer, "This terrible pain is but the kiss of Jesus, a sign that you have come so close to Jesus on the cross that he can kiss you." The woman joined her hands together and said, "Mother Teresa, please tell Jesus to stop kissing me." I had always thought that Mother Teresa was there to comfort the poor, but it seemed that pain was all she had to offer. I kept seeking to learn more. In the early hours of December 3, 1984, poisonous gas leaked in ooze from a pesticide plant owned by the chemical company Union Carbide in the Indian city of Bhopal. The toxic gas stayed low to the ground, seeping into the eyes of victims, burning their throats, killing thousands, and leaving more than 500,000 people with serious, long-term health problems. After this horrific tragedy occurred, Mother Teresa went to Bhopal. Mother Teresa arrived at the scene and announced, "Forgive, forgive," to the suffering victims. She repeated herself, then vanished from the scene of the worst industrial disaster in history. If Mother Teresa were a saint, she would have been doing everything she could to help. She could have provided food, water, and shelter for the victims. The Missionaries of Charity had a small home in Bhopal that could have helped. Be that as it may, they did practically nothing. Mother Teresa did visit patients in clinics, and she offered her prayers and blossoms while posturing for the global media. Mother Teresa once said that when she was in trouble she would cling to Christ, because he is the only answer. Thousands of people perished, and hundreds of thousands continue to have serious long-term health problems from the gas explosion in Bhopal. The water is still contaminated in Bhopal, and people continue to have sick and deformed children. Her clinging to Christ has not changed that. Could it be that this famous charity simply did not have the means to help? That Teresa's vows of poverty meant that her charity did not have money? I soon learned that it had more than enough. Mother was very concerned that we preserve our spirit of poverty. Gianluigi Nuzzi, Italian television host, journalist, and best-selling author, had access to documents revealing Mother Teresa's secret account at the IOR, short for Istituto per l'Opera di Religione, Institute for the Works of Religion, commonly known as the Vatican Bank. In Nuzzi's book, The Original Sin, he confirms that Mother Teresa was believed to have by far the most cashed-up account at the Vatican Bank. Nuzzi writes, "The balance remains one of the best-kept secrets at IOR." He adds, "If only Mother Teresa had closed the accounts or transferred them, the institution would have risked default. How could this be? An article by Susan Shields gave me more answers." Susan Shields served as a Missionaries of Charity sister for almost 10 years as Sister Virgin at the houses in San Francisco, Rome, and New York. Her job was to record donations to the Missionaries of Charity and write the thank you letters. She recalls how it was. "The money arrived at a frantic rate. The mail carrier often delivered the letters in sacks. We wrote receipts for checks of $50,000 and more on a regular basis. Sometimes a donor would call up and ask if we had received his check, expecting us to remember it readily because it was so large. How could we say that we could not recall it because we had received so many that were even larger?" When Mother spoke publicly, she never asked for money, but she did encourage people to make sacrifices for the poor, to give until it hurts. Many people did, and they gave it to her. We received touching letters from people, sometimes apparently poor themselves, who were making sacrifices to send us a little money for the starving people in Africa, the flood victims in Bangladesh, or the poor children in India. Most of the money sat in our bank accounts. Our bank account was already the size of a great fortune and increased with every postal service delivery. Around 50 million had collected in one checking account in the Bronx. For years I had to write thousands of letters to donors, telling them that their entire gift would be used to bring God's loving compassion to the poorest of the poor. I was able to keep my complaining conscience in check because we had been taught that the Holy Spirit was guiding Mother. But how was it guiding her? What did Mother Teresa believe the Holy Spirit was telling her to do? Just as she believed that suffering was the kiss of Jesus, she believed that God wanted her, her missionaries, and all the people she served to be poor. Even if they had uncountable millions, they were still to have a spirit of poverty. The donations rolled in and were deposited in the bank, but they had no effect on our aesthetic lives and very little effect on the lives of the poor we were trying to help. Mother was very concerned that we preserve our spirit of poverty. Spending money would destroy that poverty. It was not that she didn't want to receive money. Mother Teresa believed and told people the Lord was sending money to her. Money, I never think of it. It always comes. The Lord sends it. We do His work. He provides the means. If He does not give us the means, that shows He does not want the work. She wanted the money as a sign from God. She wanted people to give. But she didn't want to spend the money. She didn't want to give it to others. She wanted everyone to be in poverty. I remember the children starving outside of Catholic churches in the Philippines, and I realized that this is what the Catholic Church wanted. But when this woman who told her followers that suffering is the kiss of Jesus became ill herself, she received first-class medical treatment. In 1991, Mother Teresa went to Scripps Hospital in San Diego, where Dr. Paul Tierstein, recognized worldwide as a leader in interventional cardiology, performed a life-saving operation. Why did Mother Teresa not want to come closer to Jesus through suffering? Ask yourself what Jesus would do. I wondered where Mother Teresa's true definition of the Lord's money was truthfully coming from. On further research, I learned she was accepting money from criminals. Mother Teresa accepted at least $1.25 million from Charles Keating, a corrupt American banker who stole at least $253 million. Over 21,000 elderly people lost their entire life savings when his financial empire went bankrupt. Bill Donahue, the president of the Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights, knew that Teresa accepted money from Charles Keating, and his response was, when she got the money from Charles Keating, he hadn't been indicted about anything. He hadn't even been accused of anything. So what was she supposed to do? The money was already spent by the time that they found out that this guy was a crook. It would be one thing if she accepted money and never knew that it was stolen, but Mother Teresa knew that Keating was a fraud and refused to return the stolen funds to the rightful owners. What's more, we now know that she had far more than that much just sitting in her bank accounts. After Keating was convicted and sentenced to prison, Paul W. Turley, the co-prosecutor, wrote the following letter to Mother Teresa asking her to return the stolen money she had unjustly received. Dear Mother Teresa, Mr. Keating was convicted of defrauding 17 individuals of more than $900,000. These 17 persons were representative of 17,000 individuals from whom Mr. Keating stole $252 million. One was indeed a poor carpenter who did not speak English and had his life savings stolen by Mr. Keating's fraud. Ask yourself what Jesus would do if given the fruits of a crime, what Jesus would do if he were in possession of money that had been stolen. I submit that Jesus would promptly and unhesitatingly return the stolen property to its rightful owners. You should do the same. You have been given money by Mr. Keating that he has been convicted of stealing by fraud. Do not keep the money. Return it to those who worked for it and earned it. If you contact me, I will put you in direct contact with the rightful owners of the property now in your possession. Sincerely, Paul W. Turley. 3 years later, Mr. Turley has received no reply to his letter, nor can anybody account for the missing money. Saints, it seems, are immune to audit. Did Mother Teresa even care about the moral character of her supporters? In 1981, Mother Teresa traveled to Haiti to accept the Legion d'Honneur award from the Duvalier family. The Duvaliers ran Haiti as a dictatorship. People in Haiti lived in terror and poverty, as the Duvaliers and their followers controlled all of Haiti's wealth. Anyone caught disobeying or questioning the Duvalier regime was bullied, kidnapped, tortured, or murdered. The Duvaliers were responsible for the deaths of over 30,000 of their own people between 1957 and 1986. I was learning a very ugly lesson about Mother Teresa, her charity, and the Catholic Church. What do you think about Mother Teresa accepting money from and being acquainted with criminals and dictators? I'm not a social worker. I do it for the Church. At last I found the work of Christopher Hitchens. Hitchens was a world-renowned author. He wrote a book, The Missionary Position, critiquing and challenging Mother Teresa's work, and he co-wrote and starred in the documentary Hell's Angel about Mother Teresa's deceitful life. In Hell's Angel, Mary London, a former volunteer at the Missionaries of Charity house, describes a boy being denied a hospital visit when he was sick and dying. First day I was there, when I'd finished working in the women's ward, I went and waited on the edge of the men's ward for my boyfriend, who was looking after a boy, 15, who was dying. And an American doctor told me that she had been trying to treat this boy, and that he had a really relatively simple kidney complaint that had simply got worse and worse and worse because he hadn't had antibiotics, and he actually needed an operation. I don't recall what the problem was. She did tell me, and she was so angry, but also very resigned, which so many people become in that situation. She said, "Well, they won't take him to hospital." And I said, "Why? All you have to do is get a cab. Take him to the nearest hospital. Demand that he has treatment. Get him an operation." She said, "They don't do it. They won't do it. If they do it for one, they do it for everybody." And I thought, but this kid's 15. The Missionaries of Charity had millions of dollars. There was no reason to deny anyone a hospital visit. At least there was no good, compassionate reason. Christopher Hitchens had the opportunity to meet and speak with Mother Teresa. It was by talking to her that I discovered, and she assured me that she wasn't working to alleviate poverty, he said. She was working to expand the number of Catholics. She said, "I'm not a social worker. I don't do it for this reason. I do it for Christ. I do it for the Church." When Mother Teresa was given the Nobel Prize, she said in her acceptance speech, "Let us here make a strong resolution. We are going to save every little child, every unborn child, give them a chance to be born. And what we are doing, we are fighting abortion by adoption. And the good God has blessed the work so beautifully that we have saved thousands of children, and thousands of children have found a home where they are loved, they are wanted, they are cared. The Missionaries of Charity sold children. They are not true, they are all lies." 1 year after Mother Teresa won her Nobel Prize, in 1980, The Missionaries of Charity sold a young boy named Sonitin Dar to a Belgian Catholic couple for 125,000 rupees after falsifying his documents. He and his sisters came from an impoverished family. His father sold ice cream and would sometimes be gone for a week at a time. His mother was often sick at the hospital, leaving Sonitin and his two sisters alone for days without food. He had to look after himself and his sisters when he was only 6 or 7 years old. Sonitin's mother was admitted to the Mother Teresa Hospice in Prem Dam due to her failing health, and Sonitin and his sisters, Shanto and Shantoshi, stayed there with her. 1 month later, his mother passed away. Sonitin and his sisters were listed as orphans and sold to Belgian Catholics by the nuns at the hospice, while their father, grandmother, and eldest sister Marnie were still alive. Do you think that it is right to sell children? Sonitin's name has since changed to Sonitin Pauwels. He is an aeronautical engineer at an airport in Belgium. He was given a lot, but he is upset about being illegally put up for adoption. Since 1993, Sonitin Pauwels has been searching for his family, asking the Missionaries of Charity for their help. Sonitin claims he has tried 10 to 20 times, and some sisters tried to help, but he believes they are withholding information about the whereabouts of his family. Sonitin went to the Missionaries of Charity orphanage in 2002 and found his papers with his photo, but his data was falsified. He discovered that he was listed as an orphan, with a statement revealing that his grandmother gave him up for adoption, which is illegal in India. Not only that, neither Sonitin's father nor his grandmother wanted him to be adopted. Sonitin was often visited by his grandmother while staying at the Mother Teresa home, but she was never allowed to enter because, according to Sonitin, the Mother Teresa home did not permit it. Sonitin has held reunions in Belgium with children who have been illegally adopted. They speak about the problems of adoption and the Mother Teresa homes without their adopted parents present. Sonitin says once 70 people came to his reunion, and most of them missed their families in India. They want to find their birth families because they have problems with their adopted parents in Belgium. They go to the Mother Teresa house trying to find their biological parents, and most times they receive negative news, according to Sonitin. The Mother Teresa homes tells them that their father and mother is dead. They are not true, Sonitin says. They are all lies. The Missionaries of Charity was selling children. It still is. In early July 2018, head nun Sister Concilia and charity worker Anima Indwar were arrested for selling a child at the Nirmal Hriday Missionaries of Charity home. The Missionaries of Charity home provides shelter to rescued and pregnant unmarried women. The home is in Jharkhand in northeast India. In early July 2018, the Bishop of the Archdiocese of Ranchi, Theodore Mascarenhas, was interviewed by Indrajit Kundu from India Today. The interview occurred after Sister Concilia and Anima Indwar had been arrested. During the interview, Bishop Theodore Mascarenhas said that the Missionaries of Charity sisters are simple holy women trying to do compassion, and he condemned Anima Indwar, pinning all the blame on her. Every organization is human, okay? In a human organization, there will always be one person who can let you down, and Anima Indwar, I think, has let the Missionaries of Charity down. Bishop Theodore Mascarenhas also stated that the Missionaries of Charity sisters had nothing to do with the act of selling babies illegally. First and foremost, let's make one thing clear. The Missionaries of Charity, Mother Teresa's sisters as we fondly call them, are not at all involved in this what happened. As an organization, as a congregation, let me make that very, very clear. There are some vested interests who want to destroy their credibility, and I think that is very unfair to them. Sunita Kumar, a spokesperson for the Missionaries of Charity, came on television in early July 2018 carrying a piece of paper that she said was given to her by Bishop Theodore Mascarenhas. Kumar then read the paper aloud. "I'm just going to read out a message. I've been told to do this. Bishop Theodore Mascarenhas, who's from Delhi, and Secretary CBCI has made a statement. This is a deliberate attempt to malign one of the world's and India's most loved institutions. Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity, the truth will come out." Kumar then repeats herself by saying, "I've been told to just do this." She then says, "I'm not allowed to say another word." The fact that Sunita Kumar, the spokesperson for the Missionaries of Charity, was not permitted to speak on NDTV is very strange. Why do you think Bishop Theodore Mascarenhas gave Sunita Kumar a piece of paper with instructions telling her what to say? Why do you think Sunita Kumar was not given permission to speak for herself on television? The truth did come out. The Jharkhand police released a video of Sister Consilia confessing that she sold multiple children, and she also confessed to giving another baby away for free. The video was recorded in Hindi and was translated to English. Sister Consilia: only me, Karishma, and Anima knew about this. Police officer: so you 3 people were involved in this sale? Say something. Police officer: how many more kids have you sold? Sister Consilia: 2 more. Police officer: where did you sell them? Sister Consilia: where? I don't know the addresses. Police officer: who knows them then? Sister Consilia: I need to look at the files. Police officer: so you sold 3 babies, or were there 4? Sister Consilia: we gave 1 kid away without taking any money. Police officer: and? Sister Consilia: that's all. In a separate video that was released, Miss Indore was interviewed by a police officer, and she also confessed to illegally selling children. Police officer: where do you live? Anima Indore: Nauksaso Pura. Police officer: where do you work? Anima Indore: Missionaries of Charity. Police officer: how many kids have you sold? Anima Indore: 3. Police officer: where? Anima Indore: Morabadi, Kanatoli. Police officer: and Simdega? Anima Indore: that one we gave away for free. Police officer: the one that you sold in UP, Uttar Pradesh, how much did you charge for him? Anima Indore: 1,20,000 rupees, $1,700 US. Police officer: who gave you the money? Anima Indore: the buyer himself. Police officer: who was the middleman? Anima Indore: the guard. Police officer: who else was involved? Anima Indore: no one else, just me, the girl, and the guard. Police officer: and she? He might be asking about Sister Consilia. Anima Indore: she was not there. Police officer: but she is saying that she was there. Anima Indore: she is saying that, but she was not there. Police officer: did you take her to the Missionaries of Charity? Anima Indore: yes. This baby trafficking scandal came to light after Rupa Verma, the chairperson of the Child Welfare Committee in Ranchi, conducted a routine checkup at the shelter, known as Nirmal Hriday. During the checkup, Rupa Verma discovered that there were children missing from the shelter who had previously been registered. Rupa Verma then told the police and an investigation was launched. Miss Indore had been looking after an infant boy, and she knew that his biological mother, Karishma Topo, did not want to keep him. Miss Indore then discovered a childless couple from Uttar Pradesh in North India who was seeking adoption. She offered to sell him for 1,20,000 rupees, $1,700 US, and the couple accepted her offer. When Rupa Verma began asking questions as to why there were children missing at the shelter, Anima Indore panicked and contacted the couple whom she had previously sold the child to. She then requested that the couple should return to the home to complete certain formalities. When they arrived, Anima Indore took the infant child away from them. She then returned the boy to Karishma Topo, his biological mother, without telling the couple who had illegally adopted him. The couple then complained to the Child Welfare Committee, and Rupa Verma confronted Anima Indore. During the confrontation, Anima Indore admitted that she had illegally sold 4 children at the shelter. 1 child was sold for $750 US. The police have now rescued all 3 babies who were sold, as well as the 1 baby who was given away for free by Sister Consilia and Anima Indore. Anima Indore and Sister Consilia are both still in jail, and Sister Consilia was recently denied bail. Mother Teresa kept people in destitution at her Missionaries of Charity homes while accepting millions of dollars from donors, including criminals. Her blind faith led her to cling to Christ during the worst industrial disaster in history, in Bhopal, while she had the most cash-heavy account in the Vatican Bank. She had no significant impact on the poor of the city. She was responsible for creating a negative image of the city. As a Calcuttan, I feel totally disgusted by it, said Bikash Ranjan Bhattacharya, who served as mayor of Kolkata from 2005 to 2010. Meanwhile, Mother Teresa, the former living saint, is now an actual saint, at least in the eyes of the Catholic Church. To become a saint in the Catholic Church, you need to die first, of course. Then you need to perform 2 miracles, and the Church has to verify them. This usually takes a long time, starting with a waiting period of several years after death. But Pope John Paul II allowed Mother Teresa to be fast-tracked. She died on September 5, 1997. She was beatified, the first official step, on October 19, 2003. Less than 20 years after her death, on September 4, 2016, she was canonized as a saint in front of huge crowds at the Vatican. This miracle is a hoax. The first miracle attributed to Mother Teresa, the one that gave justification to her being beatified, was the healing of a tumor in a woman in India. Monica Bezra from Dangram, India, was suffering from excruciating pain in her abdomen. She could no longer take the agony and decided to leave her family to seek help from the Missionaries of Charity in Calcutta. By coincidence, it was 1 year after Mother Teresa's death, September 5, 1998. Two sisters, Sister Bartholomea and Sister Anne Sevica, placed a silver locket with Mother Teresa's picture on top of Bezra's stomach where she was experiencing severe pain. According to the story, Bezra and the sisters prayed, and later that night she was miraculously healed. In fact, Bezra had been treated at the Belgorod District Hospital in West Bengal before she went to seek help from the Missionaries of Charity. According to hospital records, an ultrasound revealed a tubercular mass, not a cancer, on one of her ovaries. After she left the hospital, she continued treatment as an outpatient at the North Bengal Medical College and Hospital until she was released, completely cured in March 1999. A final ultrasound check showed no hint of the tumor. Dr. Ranjan Mustafi, the chief doctor who treated Bezra, said that she was healed with medicine. It was not a miracle, he said. She took medicines for 9 months to 1 year. The Vatican team that went to India to certify the miracle never contacted him. Bezra's husband, Siku Murmu, said in an interview with Time magazine, "My wife did feel less pain one night when she used the locket, but her pain had been coming and going. Then she went to the doctors and they cured her. My wife was cured by the doctors and not by any miracle. This miracle is a hoax." Imagine if everyone placed a medallion on top of their injuries and prayed to Mother Teresa, instead of seeking professional medical help. Imagine if there were no hospitals and no one received medical treatment. What do you think would happen? Prabir Ghosh is the head of the Science and Rationalist Association of India. Ghosh told Time magazine that he will shut down his association and turn over its 2 million rupees, $40,000 to the Catholic order if the sisters will put the medallion to the test and have it cure another tumor, but they have not taken up the offer. Why would Mother Teresa pick Monica Bezra and her alone to be healed when there are children and families who are suffering throughout the world? The answer, as I saw it, was that the Catholic Church wanted a saint and found an excuse. Before the Catholic Church could declare Mother Teresa a saint, however, it still needed her to perform a second miracle. This she is said to have done by curing Marcilio Haddad Andrino, an engineer from Santos, Brazil, of 8 abscesses and hydrocephalus, an accumulation of cerebrospinal fluid in the brain, in early December 2008. Why would deceased Mother Teresa step in and select Andrino to be cured of his 8 abscesses and no one else of anything else when there is so much suffering in the world? Surely it couldn't have anything to do with the percentage of Catholics in Brazil having fallen from 85 to 63% over the past 20 years. Becoming a saint in the Catholic Church is a costly and time-consuming process. To simply open a case for beatification costs €50,000, supplemented by the €15,000 in actual operating costs. This amount covers the rights of the Holy See and the hefty compensation of the expert theologians, physicians, and bishops who examine the cause. After adding the costs of the researcher's time, the drafting of the candidate's positio, a kind of resume of all of his or her works, and finally the work of the postulator, the amount skyrockets. The average price tag comes to about €500,000. Meanwhile, poor children go without schools, sick people go without hospitals, and millions of people are in desperate need of food and shelter. Do you think this is the best way to use money, time, and resources? Perhaps the greatest irony of all is that Mother Teresa had doubts about God's existence. This saint who told others to live in faith through their personal connection to God had lost her own sense of connection for long periods of her life. Blind Faith. A collection of Mother Teresa's letters to her spiritual advisors and friends titled Mother Teresa, Come Be My Light, tells us of the darkness within her. An article in Time magazine summarizes the truth. That absence seems to have started at almost precisely the time she began tending the poor and dying in Calcutta, and except for a 5-week break in 1959, never abated. Although perpetually cheery in public, the Teresa of the letters lived in a state of deep and abiding spiritual pain. In more than 40 communications, many of which have never before been published, she bemoans the dryness, darkness, loneliness, and torture she is undergoing. She compares the experience to hell, and at one point says it has driven her to doubt the existence of heaven and even of God. In a 1974 interview, Nod Like McCarthy asked her, "Now right through history, all the great saints had great doubts about their faith. They had great moments of absolute darkness when they wondered if there was a God at all. Have you ever had that darkness?" Mother Teresa responded, "We all have to go through it, yes. That is the time when we have to take greater grip and accept it as a sign of purification of great and greater love. That's the cross at the time. In other words, if you cannot feel God, that is a sign that God is working." McCarthy asked, "When you say we have to take great grip, what exactly do you do when you have a moment of darkness?" Mother Teresa interrupted, "Cling to Christ, because he is the only answer." McCarthy asked, "And how do you cling to Christ if you have had a long to darkness and you doubt his very existence?" Mother Teresa replied, "Blind faith." Blind, yes, and blinding. McCarthy asked her, "What do you say to people who come to you who say that they have no faith? They admire what you're doing because naturally their hearts go out to the poor and the sick and the dying, but they just couldn't do what you're doing because there is no Christ for them." Mother Teresa responded, "I don't believe that there is any human being who doesn't believe in God, unless they are mental." I could hardly believe my ears. This was a final confirmation that Christianity is blind faith. Mother Teresa, who said that her beliefs were based on nothing other than blind faith, and that if you did not feel God, you should take it as a sign of God, was now questioning the mental health of anyone who does not believe in God. What if you question the Church? Where did these thoughts come from? You have probably already guessed her answer to this. Mother Teresa wrote multiple letters to Sister Margaret Mary, M.C., warning her of the devil and its ability to interfere with her thoughts. Love Jesus and keep a smiling heart for him. All these disturbing thoughts come from the devil. Ignore them all. God bless you, my child. I found myself back at the beginning of my life, back in Sunday school, where independent thought was blamed on Satan, and the fear of the devil was preached to me. Mother Teresa preached poverty and was obsessed with human suffering, except when it came to herself. She was taught suffering was the way to become close to Jesus. She lost her father in childhood, and in adulthood took the absence of her feeling of God the Father as proof of his guidance and challenge to her. As Christopher Hitchens said, Mother Teresa was not a friend of the poor, she was a friend of poverty. She said that suffering was a gift from God. She spent her life opposing the only known cure for poverty, which is the empowerment of women and the emancipation of them from a livestock version of compulsory reproduction. I had not found a saint in Mother Teresa. I had found someone who helped create and maintain a hell on earth, all in the service of keeping people subjugated to the cruel absent God she worshipped and the institution that sold this illusion to control people. She spent her whole life in a bubble of fear and delusion. She didn't try to escape it. She worked to bring and keep others into it.